Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast. Alongside Chris Level, I'm Chois Woodman. This podcast, as usual, brought to you by our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Christopher, this isn't really for you, but I hope you had a good Mother's Day. I hope all the women in your life had a good Mother's Day, I should say.
Oh yeah, for those of us with married and fortunate enough to still have our moms around, yeah, it's just you just try to survive, man. Making sure that those sweet ladies, whatever the case, know that they are appreciated and
Yeah.
loved and all that stuff. But yeah, it's tricky at times maneuvering your way through it because okay, have I done enough? I mean the whole thing, right? But yeah, no, all good, and I appreciate another chance to be with you here, and we'll chop it up.
Let's chop it up. We've got more football topics as we are creeping on, what, 3.5 months out from football. I know it feels like a long way out, but it'll be in our lap before we know it. We'll talk um,
Well,
some
you've got a lot of preseason rankings kind of coming
a
out.
lot
You've
of that
got
stuff.
it's list season, some CFP
Hmm.
stuff being floated. We're still waiting on the House settlement, but this is all of these things have just kind of taken the place of realignment conversation
Pretty
from
well.
years past. Yeah. So, but it won't be too far away. And part of what is interesting, Woodman, about some of the CFP discussion is that an expansion to the playoff and all that stuff. But what is interesting is that one of the main things that ultimately could come from it, which I don't know if a lot of people have just really thought about it or considered it or whatever. I know the people involved have, but your off season may not be as long because I think that you know
Yeah.
some of what you're dealing with is versus the calendar, and you could start to see the college football season start, in that August 24th ish range on a yearly basis, as they try to kind of stretch this thing out a little bit. So, anyways, I didn't mean to
I'm
go off topic right there, but yeah, it just is it's funny because you were talking about off season, but I don't know, and starting in 26, maybe the off season isn't quite as long.
okay.
We
I'm
shall see.
I'm for such things.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm okay to
Yeah,
get
no
there just
doubt.
a
I mean, because
smidge quicker.
this year, Kansas State
Yep.
and Iowa State, I think, play on like is it the 23rd?
Yeah,
I
it's the
think maybe August the
week
23rd
zero game. Yeah.
in Ireland. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that may become more of like I said, more of the norm.
Yeah.
I think the Red Raiders tee it up on August the 30th, which is most teams are that
Correct.
weekend, but that's just because they're going to tell you, it's just the way the calendar falls, air quotes. But I think that that could be something that is more, I wouldn't even say normal. It just maybe, like this is the way what's happening just because we're trying
Sure.
to squeeze more playoff games in or whatever. So anyway,
Yeah. It's those two teams you mentioned this year, and I think TCU and is it North Carolina? I think they have something.
they, they're actually going to play on Labor Day weekend, but I think they may
Okay.
have they're either on the Sunday night or Monday night of Labor Day weekend when
Okay.
there's no NFL yet, and obviously Texas Tech will be playing on that Saturday, and I can't remember, but they have a standalone TV window with versus the fighting Jordan Hudson's. And Bill Belichick too. Does TCU on the you know who Jordan Hudson is, right?
I do.
Okay,
She's
yeah.
not allowed, or she is allowed in the North
I
Carolina
don't know, but yeah,
facilities. Yeah.
that is a in fact a Sunday or Monday night
Okay.
standalone game there. So
Okay. So yeah, and that's in 2026. So that'd be interesting to see if that happens. I am curious to see the collateral is probably not the right word, but just what in the wake of all of these decisions, all of this that's going to happen over the next year or so when it comes to college football, whether you get the 14 team playoff, which it seems like that's what will happen after this season. What happens with those first round buys, who the automatic buys? Do you have that again? And then of course all the house stuff that we're just continuing to wait on, and roster limitations. What's the latest there, Level, that as far as what's
oh,
expected from the
this deal's a bit of a mess. I can't decide if this is if they're in a bit of a pickle.
uh-huh
Um, there are people that are rooting against this case to be settled
uh-huh
just because that would equal real rules and real change. But as it stands right now, you really don't have a set of rules in place for this coming fall. Everybody's been operating under what they think they know and all that.
yeah
And I think some schools are just saying, "Hey, man, even if this lady in Northern California in the court, if Judge Wilkins, if she doesn't, drop the gavel and settle it, we're going to operate this way anyways because this is what we've all been planning on." But it had like I think she said, I'll approve this, but you need to do this, this, and this." And I think that they kind of didn't really do all that she wanted or enough of it. And so it has to do with roster limitations and
right
grandfathering those in. And she's listened to a lot of Olympic sport athletes saying they're going to do away with my sport or they trim this and that. Meanwhile, all these football teams are cutting players left and right.
yeah
Hey man, if you want to go play, it's not going to happen here. We got to get down to the whole thing. And I mean, Notre Dame even came out at the end of last week and said, "Hey, we understand the dilemma for everybody. Anybody that was asked to leave is more than welcome to come back." I mean, it's just a weird set of circumstances. This is a weird time right now. But they're at the earliest, we will be talking about this again next week because at the earliest, I think it's the week of May the 19th before this would be ruled upon.
hmm
And meanwhile, it's still it's still Wild West scenarios
sure
for collectives and this window that you've been allowed to kind of go above and beyond and do what you want, and the collective can kind of operate on behalf of, and you can do this and you can front load the money. I mean, all that is because keep in mind this was supposed to be an April the 7th
right
issue,
Mhm.
and guess what? April the 7th was a long time ago.
It
April the
was
7th is the night that the Florida Gators won the national championship.
holy moly yeah
April the 7th was the night that the University of Houston couldn't get a shot off in the last 30 seconds. Okay, so that's how long ago that has
that
been.
feels like a lot longer than about a month
Yes,
ago yeah
yes. So,
yeah
yeah, there's the latest, but it's like, okay, you keep telling me that we're getting, but I don't know. Schools and I think schools and boosters and administrators, they are largely really rooting for this to be ruled upon and
sure
to what and it'll be a 10-year band-aid, is essentially what it is, but
Mhm.
it does give you some parameters and structure for at least a period of time.
which is something you have almost
None
none
of right
of
now. Yeah,
none
none
of.
of. Yeah.
And along these same lines, we get the announcement that there's co-chairs of a new commission from the president, not president of NCAA, but from Donald Trump, that two guys that have been operating in kind of different areas will be co-chairs, and that is Cody Campbell, your chair of the board of regents, and obviously big donor, and Nick Saban. These two, Nick Saban has been very outspoken against how college football has gone, college athletics have gone. Cody Campbell has been outspoken as well, but obviously is one of your lead charges in the Matador Club here to help Texas Tech have put together the best portal class in the country. So what do we make of this? What does this mean for Texas Tech? What does it mean for college athletics moving forward?
I like the way you use that lead charges. Is that what you said?
I think I did.
He,
Yeah.
he's one of your lead charges. Yeah, that I would say he is. I would say that's a very fair
Yeah.
phrase there to attach to Cody and the Matador Club.
Yeah.
Um, I would just say this. Look, I mean, there's many that they always say if you want to get nothing done, just start putting commissions together or a board together or
Yeah.
a committee, because then everybody sits and they talk about what they talked about and nothing ever really gets accomplished. They just have bagels and cream cheese and whatever. I get all the jokes.
Hmm.
I think this is important to, and I don't want to get too political here because I'm trying to keep this on the sports.
Sure.
I think that college football, but college athletics, but really college football to be specific, is part of the fabric of society in this country.
Yeah.
I think that there are people concerned that a multi-billion dollar business is, it's not like teetering, it's just a rudderless ship right now.
Hmm.
And I think they want to create a path for this sport. Um, when you create a committee like this, is this really about college athletics in general? Is this about football, or are those one and the same?
Yeah.
Because football funds the whole thing. I mean, I get all the arguments for all the stuff and all the sports, and they're going to cut my sport, and football funds the entire deal,
Right.
except for the 5 to 17% that men's basketball is funded by the NCAA tournament, which is thanks to a large TV contract with CBS, depending on what school you're at and all the stuff, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So, um, but that's where it stops. I mean, college football and then that NCAA basketball tournament, they fund all NCAA championships, and then the CFP is overseeing, their own deal. Which, so I don't know if this commission is going to look at the whole thing or just football, and then everybody comes along with whatever we decide what's best for football. And what I mean by that is transfer rules, NIL,
Hmm.
conference realignment, media rights, all the stuff. Because Cody's been really big on, and I've seen some people in different markets that I've taken issue with that are just uneducated on who Cody is or uneducated on just the subject, and they're talking way out of turn about, well, he's just on there worried about Texas Tech deal. And part of me, like, I enjoy that part because it triggers some folks.
It does.
Um,
It for sure does.
just like most fans of the Big 12 would be triggered by Nick Saban
Yep.
being on this because, like, well, he's just worried about Alabama and the
Sure.
SEC. Well,
Sure.
now you got your own guy. Does anything ultimately happen here? I don't know. I think that you can raise a lot of questions and you can discuss a lot. At the end of the day, what can you ultimately get done? And can you agree on what needs to be done? And that's part of the problem, because executing any sort of policy or agreement is damn near impossible in government as it is,
Hmm.
much less in college football, which may be harder than the government. Okay, to get everybody to agree.
You're not
Cody
wrong. Yeah.
Cody looks at this as in totality, in that everybody loves this stuff. It's broken. It needs to be fixed. What's going on now is not sustainable. All the stuff. And so, and then in 3.5 years, when Donald Trump is no longer the president, like, does I mean, is this commission still in existence? What power do they? I mean, there's so many different layers to this. So, but here's what I would tell you, that I think it benefits Texas Tech, and I think the Big 12 as well. You will be in the know on whatever's going on. Like,
Right.
nothing will sneak up on you for this period of time whenever Cody is co-chairing this committee. He will be aware of all the things going on, and I think he can convey that to his own institution as well as Brett Yormark in the Big 12. So that doesn't I don't know what that gets you, but information is power, and I think that's important. And it's nice to have a seat at the table, especially when it says chairman in front of that seat. So,
I've heard some people talk about, speaking of seat at the table, some people talk about this is a good thing for Texas Tech when we're talking about the super leagues. If this thing ever gets cut down to 40 teams for a super league or whatever that looks like, this can't hurt your chances in in being one of the halves or being one of the those at the table, right?
well, yeah, there's another, there's another shakeup coming. I just don't, and that may be some of what they discussed too. Because I mean,
Yeah,
I think. Choice, one of the things that Cody has really talked about, and that's why I again, to each his own. I take issue with some folks out there that talk in spaces like this about, it's like about Cody and his intentions, and they start, trying to connect dots that aren't there. He's gone out of his way to talk about the big picture, and he's talked about, I mean, don't we all, regardless if you're Texas Tech or Big 12, doesn't everybody think that not having regional rivalries is a dumb thing?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I don't care how greedy or what league you're in and
sure.
whatever. I mean, when you got Rutgers playing UCLA and you've got Stanford playing at Duke and you've got, I mean,
Yep,
whatever. I
yep.
mean, you got Tech going to Orlando and all this stuff. It's just it's I understand how we got here, but Cody has really talked about, one of the examples he gave is like one of the antitrust broadcasting acts of like in the early '60s
Yeah,
that the NFL had to, they were, they
sure.
pooled their rights together and they were able to negotiate a better deal. And he cited the NBA recently saying, the NBA doesn't have anywhere near the ratings of college football, but they get twice as much money because they are in it in total.
Right.
And I think whether there's any traction there, whether I'm sure there's some involved that are like, no, we like being on top. We like looking down at the Big 12 or ACC, but that's where he's coming at it from. And if you want to say it's coming at it from a Big 12 or Tech angle or whatever, then so be it. But screw you.
Tell me how you really feel, Level.
I just,
No, I
yeah,
get it. I get it.
I took some of it, and I guess I'm saying that it triggered some people, but maybe the way some people were talking about it, very uneducated, it triggered me a bit because I just know where the guy's heart is and what he's about, and he doesn't have to do this. But how many times has Texas Tech or the Big 12 been left out of these kinds of things where you're just left to wonder or left to
Yeah,
do what you're told or whatever. And so, it's kind of nice to have somebody fighting for your well-being,
yeah,
and I don't really think that's his intention of it at all. I think he's got a great relationship with the current administration, and he was in the White House this past week before this news ultimately came out, and so we'll see what comes of it, if anything. But at the very minimum, Texas Tech and the Big 12 will be well informed.
this one kind of in those same lines. We're talking about seats at the table, that sort of thing. This question, our first one, from Mark on Twitter, says Texas Tech's a regional university trying to be a national power. Can you think of a similar school that has been successful doing this, past or present? He says Clemson and Florida State come to mind. Does the current effort, assuming you have success, set you up for a seat at the table in realignment?
Yeah, I guess I see the way that they worded it. I don't know if I would agree with it. I don't think you're like waking up every day trying to quote be a national power.
Yeah,
I think you're trying to win the Big 12. I mean that's really
sure,
it.
sure.
You are trying to put your best foot forward. You are trying to ensure that your program and your city, your community, that anybody with a Texas Tech degree, it's worth as much or more in the future than it is now because
Yeah,
there's just so many layers of this. And I know the academia out there doesn't really see it this way, but I mean,
your president of the university does.
he darn sure does, and
I
he
mean,
gets it, and I
that's the
respect it.
academia of your university, and he
Yeah.
gets it. He's one of the few in the country that get how important college athletics is to
Yep.
your whole
So
university.
I mean, there's a very exclusive national power or blue blood type
Yeah.
conversation to be had. I just think you're trying to be relevant. I think you're trying to win the Big 12. You're trying to compete nationally. Sure, I don't know if I would agree that you're trying to be a national power. I mean, that's heavy steps right there. I don't know if I'm ready for all that pressure because you haven't even played for your conference championship game.
Baby steps.
You haven't even
Yeah.
won an outright conference title in basketball, which you're really good at in many years. You've shared one recently, but so yeah, and there's people get afraid of the SEC or the Big Ten. It's funny because like the Mississippi States, the Rutgers, the Vanderbilts, there's a long list of some of these schools that are so lucky to be located where they were. They bring nothing to the table, nothing, and it's really the same 4 to 5 schools in each league. That those are the ones that are carrying the water for everybody else. And yeah, you may get a South Carolina or an Ole Miss on occasion that
Yeah.
kind of sneaks up, but it's always going to be typically Bama and Georgia and LSU and
Right.
maybe Tennessee or Florida. And then obviously it's Michigan. And I mean, Penn State is a national power in some ways, and yet there's people up there who are so frustrated with James Franklin because he's like he can't win a conference, and he just he just keeps getting to the playoff recently, but doesn't do anything when he's there. I mean, it's like that. There's levels to this,
Oh, absolutely.
but yeah. So I don't know. I don't really remember even what the question was, or if you're just trying to get there. But anyway, I've talked in a giant circle here.
I was just saying,
So
does it set you up? Does if
well,
Texas Tech
you're
has
trying to
success,
be
are you going to
yeah.
be in good positioning for realignment
And
eventually?
and yes, I mean that's ultimately what you're. Yes, I mean I think that you're just trying to be. If there's a shakeup, you want to be on the right side of it. And I think that the administration, the leadership, the donors, there's an aligned, motivated effort
Mhm.
to ensure that you are really competitive in football and men's basketball. But that's what you're ultimately trying to do. If you are competitive and can win the Big 12, the rest takes care of itself.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So, as you mentioned at the beginning level, it is list season. We've got lists all over the place. We've got things that are being posted. Everybody's got a post-spring top 25 or a post-spring Big 12 power rankings or these are the top quarterbacks in the league or this or that or coaches, ranking coaches. So we've got all of these things. One that caught my eye in particular this week is one of the major sports books, FanDuel, updated their Big 12 championship odds, and Texas Tech is now the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12. Are you surprised at this?
a little bit, keep in mind that that's a Vegas odd.
Yeah.
They're trying to create action. I think Texas Tech has gotten a lot of pub. I mean,
Mhm.
to me, I think Arizona State has earned that right. If
And
you were
they
asking
are
me
right behind Texas Tech, so it's
yeah,
really close.
yeah, I think they have. But this is odds. This isn't like how you would rank them or
Sure.
a preseason poll or something like that. But I mean, you're in the very short conversation but there's just I mean, you can make the argument here, Woodman, that Kansas State, Iowa State,
Hmm.
even Baylor and TCU, to which people may go, "Ah, come on, well, they both beat you last year. And they both bring a lot back, including their starting quarterbacks, and they didn't have a bunch of changes at coordinator
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And then I think there's BYU,
Yep.
there's Arizona State. I don't know if I've missed somebody there, but and that's not even counting like a pretty decent Kansas team and
Sure.
um,
And
so
who's gonna be the surprise of the league this year? You had several from a season ago, so
yeah, exactly,
I mean we
exactly.
don't know, but yeah, that's one part of it. There was another question along those same lines. This one came from Jason. Said, I've seen several coaches or several rankings of coaches and quarterbacks in the Big 12. Joey McGuire's usually around the middle of the pack. I even saw a ranking that had Behren Morton ranked 13th as the 13th best quarterback in the league. Level, in your opinion, where do you think McGuire and Behren rank among their peers in the league?
Um, I think right now on paper, I think it's very fair to rank them both in the middle of the pack. I think for anybody to rank like Baron 13th out of whatever, that's somebody that wasn't watching or has an agenda. Because if you don't, if you're judging him based on how bad his offensive line was and the fact that he did need surgery after it, whether it was elective or not, but
Yeah.
the fact that he won 8 regular season games. He's 14-4 on games as a starter that he's been able to start and finish. I mean, this isn't. I mean, come on. And like too many people get caught up into because Utah's guy is getting a lot of credit. Devin Dampier, who
Yeah.
came from New Mexico. There's a lot of people that are really all in on him and he's going to do well. This is the same thing that Daquan Finn had going for him at Baylor, and he didn't even make it
Didn't start.
what
Yep.
the third game, the
Yeah.
second or third game, and he got benched.
Yep.
So again, lists are meant to spark debate, create opinion, generate clicks, generate conversations. Like who was the? I'm gonna just ask you this. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who wrote the quarterback list? Where
Can't
did this come
remember.
from?
I don't. I
I,
saw it over the weekend. I
I
can't
need
remember.
I need to know.
I
I
I
think that tells me a lot. I need to know author. I need to know
let's.
outlet.
Okay, hold on. I
That
did
would
save it.
okay.
Sleeper college football.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it's something you
Well,
probably never heard of before.
I would tell those guys maybe they want to wake up. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't
I
mind
mean,
if you
they
put.
had
I get it if you put Baron. Okay, yeah. Give me some context here.
so Sam Levitz won, which is a
And
popular
see,
pick right now.
and your guy beat him.
Hmm. That's
You
true.
know, and I know that's not how it works, but half the time, whenever these arguments are made, they're like, "Well, so I'm going to use that in this case because." Sam Levitt is just big, you mark this down, Woodman.
Hmm.
He is being written down as a first round draft pick right now. It's in all these mock drafts, these way too early. You
Yeah,
just remember this, and then let's remember what it actually looks like
sure.
next April. And I'm not taking a shot at Sam Levitt. I'm just like, boy, everybody's jumping on and loves the guy and all that. Let's just see if this is reality and holds up. I mean, he clearly won, and give him credit, but it's not always very flashy. And okay, keep going.
They had Retzliff at two.
See, and he was he. I mean, he's one of the luckiest guys. I mean, because there's no way that they will win all the one score games this year that
Sure.
they did last.
Yeah.
And he was actually very. I mean, there's a lot of fans that were like, "Oh, we need more out of the QB position
Yeah.
up there,
Yeah.
or we're winning in spite of him."
Rocco Becht was three.
Yeah,
Connor,
you beat him too. Remember when Barron went in
I do
Rocco
remember
Beck's
that.
backyard and hey, sleepy football, wake up.
Was it? You're gonna have to help me with the name. The A&M transfer. Is it Weigman or
Connor Wegman, yeah.
Wegman? There we go for
And
Houston.
again, this is a 5 star, okay, and all
Hmm.
that comes with it that washed out.
Yep.
And he couldn't do it. And I'm not saying he's not any good, but and so there's nothing that Connor Wegman has done unless this is the way I think it will end up. If it's based on what they've done,
I
this is
think
a
this person did end up saying that this is a projection after they got so much flack. But
okay, yeah, because so they think that Texas Tech is going to be terrible then.
that's what this projects to.
They are picking Texas Tech to falter mightily
Other
if that
ones,
is indeed the case.
yeah, Dampier at eight. The OSU quarterback Haas at
Hoss
nine.
Haney, yeah.
Yeah, at nine. They've got Sawyer Robertson at 10, which I'd be surprised if he's that low. So yeah, Noah
But
Fafita.
everybody can't be a top 4 or 6
True,
QB obviously,
true.
but
But yeah, I mean, and it's these lists are made for guys like you and me to sit and talk about in the off
Sleepy,
season.
sleepy football.
Sleeper,
Come
sleeper.
on, dog. Sleeper football.
So,
Whatever.
so yeah, I mean I think my last memories of Behren Morton, Mr. Level, is his best two games of the year last year. And that's the game against Oklahoma State. You know, he slung it around pretty darn good. And the game against West Virginia, where you housed West Virginia at home. And Behren Morton was excellent in both of those games. And I those are the last two games he played pre-surgery, where things are supposed to be better on the other side of this surgery. So we'll see.
And I get it. There's plenty of doubters out there but it's just like at some point it's like, okay, that's just irresponsible if you're going to put him at 13. Like,
Sure,
and,
sure.
and again, you're suggesting he's going to get replaced. You're suggesting he's terrible,
Yeah,
but like a 14-4 career record,
yeah.
and he quarterbacked wins over the two teams that played I mean, like that something doesn't compute there.
Yep. So, one last question, Level, before I let you skedaddle. This one was a kind of a fun one.
Yeah,
You like skedaddle? Sorry.
I was going to say spell it, but yeah, whatever.
No, no. This one comes from Aaron. No, I don't think it's Aaron Dickens, but it says Aaron. It says, who do you think that Stanford is more upset about losing to Texas Tech, Nigel Kennedy or David Bailey?
The sad part is, speaking of sleeper or sleepy or whatever, I'd be curious if they even know.
Yeah.
That is
Uh-huh.
some of those West Coast universities, man. It like I get the whole academia thing and
Mhm.
like how, I mean, I'm not going to say too much about Stanford. I can localize that very much so right now, but I'm not going to do that. I'll take the high road. I'm not disagreeing with the education at Stanford. It's not go do your thing at Stanford, learn a ton, own the world, run the world, do your thing. Athletically, they do not care. It's a non-factor.
Schools like Stanford and Cal are
They,
the reason
they
the Pac-12 is gone.
they just don't. There's a
Yeah.
non-focus. They have glimpses of this and that. Stanford is more worried about swimming and diving and lacrosse and all the extra sports and winning the Sears
Rowing.
Cup every year. Yeah, than they are
Yeah.
some of the other stuff. At least that's the way it has been. Maybe Andrew Luck can get all that sorted out, but yeah, I mean, I mean,
So you're saying they don't even know
we
either is off the campus at this
yeah,
point.
we've spent way too much time talking about Stanford, and I know they just rolled into to Lubbock and just beat your tennis team. I'm aware, but that's my point.
Falls into line with the sports you're talking about.
Yeah,
So
that's my point.
yeah,
Like as far as football and basketball,
yeah,
so probably maybe it bothered them to lose Kennedy more than because
possibly.
she was the player of the year. David Bailey wasn't, but yeah, I just like Stanford, like that's a giant yawn to me. Like
Yeah.
you could remove them from the equation of any college football or college basketball, and I'm at that, I'd be just fine.
So, well, it does give us a chance to talk up Niger Kennedy because they went and
Oh yeah,
had a awesome week at the Big 12 tournaments. 26 to nothing. They outscore their opponents. First
yeah.
time a team has ever held, or second time a team has ever held their opponents to 0 runs in the Big 12 tournament. The other one, an Oklahoma team that went on to win a national championship. So,
I loved her getting to hold up that title belt that
mhm.
Brett Yormark handed her. It's just I hope they don't stop, but this has been a year of firsts for that program.
Sure.
Obviously, there was a healthy investment put into it. I think a lot of things had to fall into place, namely the hiring of Jerry Glasgow, and
Hmm.
he's just done a really good job. And he kind of brought all this together, and you've got John and Tracy Sellers that are heavily involved from an NIL standpoint. And I just it's all worked pretty darn well. But I mean, to win the regular season first time, then you go roll in and you win the tournament. Now you're hosting this weekend. It's just like because I have watched this is the point, but I have watched, not that I'm some Stanford person or anything all of a sudden, but I have watched more softball than ever before.
Oh, sure. It's
Because
working.
winning is fun, and she's just such a talent. And I think
Oh, man.
Glasgow's a great personality, and I'd like to see how far they can take it. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, again, winning it's different and it's meaningful and it brings everybody together. But in this sport, it's just not something you've ever done before.
Yeah,
And it's been a lot of fun to kind of observe that and see some of the people that were rooting for it all along that just never had a chance to be able to be excited, and now they do. So that's been a lot of fun for me too.
which if you hadn't seen the news this week, Texas Tech hosts the Lubbock Regional this weekend. They will host Brown first, the Brown Bears. Washington and Mississippi State will be the 2 and 3 seeds in the Lubbock Regional. The 12th national seed is what Tech ended up against. So if things go chalk and Texas Tech does win the Lubbock Regional, you would and Florida State won their regional, you'd end up playing in Tallahassee in the Super Regional. But it's been a fun season, and I'm with you. Hope this continues for a while because that is a fun team to watch, and maybe playing their best. Maybe might be hitting a stride right now too. So
We are out of time, Woodman. I appreciate Cantex Roofing. Choice, we'll do this again next week. We'll keep rocking it. Again, thank you to all the moms out there. You are very special in all of our
yes,
lives. Thank you so much for what you do, not just on a Mother's Day, but all year round. So hey, for
for
that,
sure.
for yeah, we'll talk to everybody next time.
For Chris Level, I'm Choice Woodman. It's been the Ask Level podcast brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.